Greetings Game Watchers, I'm Chris Capel and welcome to the video review of Far Cry Primal. Ubisoft has moved the open world FPS series back 12,000 years and removed guns, vehicles, radios, gliders and most of the other trappings of the series. Awesome, but will it still feel like Far Cry? As Takar, a prehistoric man and member of the Wenger tribe, the player must take their first steps into the dangerous but bountiful land of Oros. But there Takar finds the Wengers scattered and under siege by two powerful other tribes, the cannibalistic Udam and fire-worshipping Izila. He must reunite the Wenger, lead them to defeat the two tribes and tame the savage land of Oros. And that's basically the entire story of Far Cry Primal in a nutshell. Save your people, take over the land. If you're looking for a decent story or any sort of twists, then Primal is not for you. There are a few really fun characters at least, such as drug-using shaman Tensei and the utterly mad Urki the Thinker, and on the writing front I do appreciate that Ubisoft actually created their own primitive language for these early Homo sapiens to speak. In terms of game though, this translates to a large open world filled with roaming animals of many types, hunting members of the Udam and Izila clans, completing rather simplistic missions, and building up your skills, inventory and village. Many people, myself included, thought that Primal was going to be a short spin-off from the style of Blood Dragon. That's not the case. It is indeed a full game with many hours worth of content, although how much you'll do is up to you. There are plenty of missions, 15 outposts, 16 bonfires for fast travel purposes, and a hell of a lot of pointless collectibles to find. Primal still plays a lot like Far Cry. As per usual with Far Cry, there are two main ways to approach every situation: assault and stealth. The fighting is the most different since we no longer have the ability to send hot lead across great distances. Instead you'll be relying on three simple weapons: clubs, bows and spears. All can be upgraded and set on fire for extra mischief. Clubs come in one and two-handed varieties and can be thrown if necessary. Spears are best thrown, but you can only carry a few. Bows are available in short and long forms. There are some silly traps and bee grenades, but otherwise attack means either firing arrows, flinging spears, or battering enemies until they fall down. It can be quite satisfying, but despite the different types of enemies to face, fighting alone would get boring fast, since it's not particularly complex. Fortunately, there's more to do than just clubbing people and animals to death. In the absence of instant death murder weapons, stealth at first seems generally favourable. It's still good, but the sneaking simply isn't as fun as it was in Far Cry's 3 or 4. The reason for this is simple: clutter. There is just too much shit everywhere in places like outposts and it's all the same colour, so enemies are easily overlooked when you're scouting before an attack. That's not to mention the gaming world's worst attempt yet at another copycat of Batman's detective vision. Hunter vision is awful. It only highlights things close by and colours everything the same shade of yellow. Enemies, friends, plants, rocks, animals, they all look the same in Hunter vision. Just forget about it in combat. Fortunately, what you can rely on is your trusty pet badger. While there are many varieties of wildlife in Oros, there are 17 types that can be tamed to accompany Takar, such as wolves, tigers, lions, bears, and yes, badgers. These guys have been cleverly introduced into Far Cry and I can't imagine Primal without them. After taming, they can be called whenever you like, commanded to attack enemies or go to places, go into stealth when you do, protect you and your fellow Wenger, and eventually even allow you to ride them. The only downside is that after discovering riding, you won't want to walk anywhere. The only flying animal in your menagerie is the owl, which can scout the area, find and mark threats, drop bombs, and even kill single enemies. With animals at your side, Primal becomes more fun, which is good because without them the gameplay gets old after a few hours. Despite the caveman setting, it's still the same Far Cry template that's been in use since Far Cry 3. Take over outposts, expand your map, hunt, craft, upgrade, unlock, talk to interesting characters, have drug experiences, the lot. Frankly, it's getting tiring now, and if anything it's worse in Primal since the majority of your time you'll be collecting resources. Hunting animals, grabbing rocks, pulling branches, even picking flowers. Why? This is not the fun part of Far Cry or Primal, this is time wasting. But unlike the various collectibles, it's an actual requirement for progression. I don't mind the missions, the constant random encounters, the outposts, roaming gangs of Udam or vicious wildlife. These are the fun parts of Far Cry Primal. I do not want to spend another moment in a Far Cry game finding and killing rhinos to make a nice bag. And yet when playing Primal I find myself thinking I could take on that Udam fort and have lots of fun doing so, but I need 12 more self-rock dust to upgrade Tensei's hut, so I better do that first. As fun as Primal gets, this is stupid design mentality that drags it down and stops me wanting to complete the entire game. Far Cry Primal has far more in common with previous Far Cry games than it seems on the surface, to both its gain and detriment. The caveman setting is novel, and the total absence of guns, vehicles and people shouting in your ear every 10 minutes is refreshing. Combat is simple but fun, and once the game brings a tameable animal companion in, then Primal becomes entertaining enough to last you many hours. Unfortunately, stealth gameplay is more problematic, as enemies blend into the environment and hunter vision is useless. The worst is that the constant need to hunt and gather resources takes up the majority of Primal's playtime, and isn't fun at all. In the end, I gave Far Cry Primal a still good score of 7.5. Primal isn't on fire, and the Far Cry formula needs to evolve, preferably involving trigons or blood dragons, but it's not quite extinct yet. Thanks for watching everyone. Chris Capel and GameWatcher out.